From underneath the car, locate your engine oil pan, which is this one right here. The one that does not have a drain bolt is the transmission pan, so don't confuse them. And now with a 15mm socket, go ahead and remove your oil drain plug. It shouldn't be extremely tight. Have a collection bucket ready, because as soon as you pull this out, oil will come shooting out. Holding pressure on it, that way when it's on the last thread, it doesn't fall down and make a mess. I can control when I want to release the oil. So I'm going to keep on threading while holding pressure. It's on the last thread right now. I'm going to pull straight out and I'll let this drain. It's down to a very slow drip, so I'm going to call this done. I'm installing a brand new oil drain plug. You don't have to. But if yours is damaged or the gasket on it is bad, it's a good idea to just get a new one. Get all of the oil drippings off of here, snug it up, and then we'll torque it to 18 foot-pounds. All right, that's bottomed out. Clean up my area. That's it right there. I recommend using a little bit of brake parts cleaner just to clean up the area here, because if you ever have a leak, you won't know if it's a leak or if it's residual oil from when you drained it. So always clean up any oil spillage. Now from under the hood, if you look right in this cutout of the engine cover, you'll notice the oil filter housing right here, which is next to the dipstick tube. To get this oil filter housing loose, you'll need one of these special sockets. It's a 32mm socket, but it's extremely shallow and it's made for this purpose. If not, you might be able to use a wrench, but otherwise you won't be able to really get this loose. So go ahead and break it free. Go slow, you don't want to break anything. It's plastic. All right, get your socket off there. There will be oil in here, keep that in mind. Set the cap aside, then you can pull the filter straight out. There we go. Let this drain in there a little bit. Here's the old filter. Kind of poor condition if you ask me. The filter that I have not only comes with the filter itself, but also with the cap. You don't have to replace the cap unless it's damaged, but you at least have to replace these O-rings here, which, if they don't come on the filter or the cap, they should come with the filter in the box. And to do that, all you have to do is get a pick, remove it, and reinstall the new one. Unfortunately, in this situation, we can't pre-fill the oil filter, because if you put oil in here, it's just going to run down into the oil pan. But I'm going to install my new filter there, and whether you have your new or old filter cap, slide it on. Make sure that these tabs in here, you can see it has 3 little tabs, that they slide into the center of the oil filter. This didn't happen on the last one, and that's why it got crushed, because it actually, the oil filter was sitting sideways like this. As you put the cap down, it's going to get crushed. So make sure that it's sitting in properly. You can feel it lock in as you're threading it in. There we go. I just felt it snap into place. So I know I'm good. I was able to bottom it out by hand. If you can't bottom it out by hand, it's most likely because the cap isn't sitting into the oil filter properly. The torque on this is 25 Newton meters. This converts to 18.4 foot-pounds. That's bottomed out. And that's it right there. Don't over tighten it. It's plastic and it will break. Up here on the engine cover, you have your oil fill. Go ahead and remove the cap. Let's add some oil. As you can see, this vehicle takes 5W30, so make sure you put in the correct viscosity. This engine takes 5 quarts, so go ahead and put 5 quarts in. With the 5 quarts put in, I'm going to go ahead and cap this off. I'm going to measure the engine oil level with the engine off, and it might be a little above the full mark, but that's okay, and I'll explain why in a second. You want to pull up on the dipstick and clean it off. Dip it back into the dipstick tube all the way down, and then pull it back out. And if you look carefully, you can see that it has some markings right here. And this is the low mark, this is the high mark. You want your oil to be somewhere in between. Right now, it is right at the full level of the full mark. Basically, it's 100% at the top. That's okay, because the oil filter housing is empty. So as soon as we start the engine and run it for a few seconds, and then shut it off and check it, the engine oil level is probably going to dip down 1 notch to right about here, the lower part of the top hash marks. And that's perfectly fine. That's normal. So like I said, just put 5 quarts in and you should be good to go. I know that this is full, so I'm going to stick this back in here. And now just write your oil change reminder and then go ahead and take it for a road test.